Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of Solicited Advice. I'm your host, LaChelle Adkins, also known as America's Supermom, and I am excited for my guest, Janice, who is here with me today. Before we get into the conversation of finding your voice, she has a book, she's an author, a podcast host, and so many more things that we'll find out here briefly. I wanted to share a few announcements with everybody. The first is that I'm having a Christmas in July event this Saturday from noon to 1 p.m. It's just an hour, just an opportunity for us to plan for the holiday season. I don't know about you guys, but I hate waiting to the last minute. And it's really hard for me with 15 kids. And now by Christmas time, it'll be 8 grandchildren. So that is something that's really hard to do last minute. I also want to shout out one of my community members, Dr. Robert Gillespie, is hosting a Zoom on August 1st, and I'm going to put the link and everything here in the comments around post COVID things. So, with parents, how are we dealing with kids who have had to navigate through this trauma of COVID? And then I also want to let you know that I do have a paid community. Once a month, I do have a live that you can ask me any questions around parenting, marketing, TV, whatever is on your heart in order for you to continue to move forward successfully in your business. I do want to thank Ty the Tutoring for joining us live today. Thank you so much for being here. If you have any questions, feel free to put them into the comments so we can answer them live as we go. So, now, the moment we've all been waiting for, our guest, Janice, is here. So, Janice, I want to yield the mic to you to introduce yourself before we get started with today's conversation.
Oh, that sounds great. I'm Janice Debo. I do personal development training and coaching for teams and individuals, groups, and such. I also published my first book 2 years ago called Courage, Confidence, and Connections Journal. I'm sure we'll talk about that.
Mhm.
And my podcast, I'm a podcaster for 2 years now, is also called Courage, Confidence, and Connections. So when you've got a good thing, stick with it. And I am from the South, so we have a Southern accent thing going on here.
I love it. I love it. So, we're just going to dive right in because I feel like 30 minutes already is that's not enough time, because I can ask 1,000 questions. And we already have a great connection from the times that we've talked prior to this conversation. But um, we want to hear about finding your voice, having the courage to actually write a book around your journey. Many people struggle with that. They're afraid that they might offend people or certain family members or friends or whatever. I think we have a lot of fear around sharing our message because it may not be for everybody, but we just kind of have this angst around doing it. So, what was it that really gave you the courage to step out and share your story?
That's another accidental happening. I was writing a blog for a couple of years, and I was just writing fun stories and things to encourage people.
Hmm.
And after I had about 100 on there or more, 120, I think, I had a friend say, well, why don't we take this and put it into a book and make it a journal format? Well, I was already writing, so we made that decision to convert it to a journal so people could relate to it and respond. And so I never set out to publish. I knew I was a writer, and I knew I would have a book eventually. So I just followed her advice, and we set it up and got it done. It's like falling into the podcast too, Lachelle. It happened. It was not an it was I didn't go in with an intention of that. But once I decided to have the book, I did have to kind of pick and choose which blogs went into the book.
Hmm.
When it comes to people concerned about being offended, well, let me rest your fears. If you want to write it as a novel, change the names. I'm doing my
Hmm.
memoirs now, so it'll be my second book, and I'm not changing names for the most part. I may edit some things,
Hmm.
but I think telling our story, no matter how you choose to do it, is very important. Even if you're just writing it in your own private journal,
Mm-hmm.
getting it out there eventually. And again, turn it into a novel. I've got a friend doing that. She's published her
Mm-hmm.
first book, and it's a novel, but it's based on facts and truth of the circumstances. Actually, I got
I,
two friends. Yeah.
I love that now. And I love the fact of you already were doing the work.
Yeah.
A lot of people struggle with uh, putting it into a book because they feel like, there's no value in it. It was something that they did, a phase, I mean, or whatever. I don't know. We can kind of go through a lot of things with that. But how did you make that transition of understanding the value of something that you've already done and how it can impact even more people?
I had encouraged my mother never wrote her story down, although I'll have a lot of memories and notes from her and
Hmm.
relatives and such. And I always wanted her to write her story. But now that I've come to find out a lot of things around that, I understand why she couldn't. But I'm writing it. And so my part of my motivation is to tell my mom's story, my brother, they're both passed now. So
Hmm.
and to tell their story to honor them, and because there was some dishonor in the whole situation, which is
Hmm.
sad. But
Hmm.
in all that, I want to honor them because what came out of it is a beautiful life, and I'm part of that. I want my story to be told and let people know, no matter what might be in your story, don't be ashamed of it. Shame can really push back, but it's worth telling because if one person's life is changed or affected, it's worthwhile.
I love that. I remember my own journey of going through depression for 13 years, and there
Mm.
was a lot of guilt, shame, embarrassment, just a number of things that I think kind of kept me stuck in that place. And it wasn't until I did this mindset shift that, now it's like, hey, I'm a walking billboard around. Let's not be depressed. Okay, let me share what I went through. It
Mhm.
just seems so natural. But for people who are struggling with that shame, that guilt, what would you say to them to help them overcome that, especially when we're dealing with family members that
Mhm.
may not no longer be around, and just really being able to find the value out of a hard uh truth that may not be popular.
Well, I won't say it's easy. I can't say that because I still look back and see some things that want to bring shame.
Hmm.
However, if it's not like all of it's not my story, so I'm not ashamed of what happened in my family. It happened. If it
Hmm.
happened, you have to let go of that shame and say, okay, that was their life. It's my life, and be proud of who you are today, because how
Hmm.
you got here, if the shame helped you be who you are today, maybe somebody else will benefit by reading or seeing your story and go, oh, how did they overcome that?
Hmm.
But just by doing your best, write it out on your own private time in a private way, and do your best to embrace this is part of my journey. So if shame is trying to eat your lunch, so to speak, and it will,
Hmm.
let it go. It's part of your journey. It's part of, I like to say, I have to thank some of the bad circumstances for making me who I am.
Yeah. I totally get that, because there was this level that I just couldn't overcome as long as I was trying to hide my past, or
Right.
lock it away, just, oh my gosh, I hope nobody asks me about that. I hope it doesn't come up. Just so much fear that I couldn't even relax. But
Hmm.
now it's like, hey, okay, it's out there. If it's not, doesn't resonate with you, oh well, on to the next person. So, how do you think just this journey of being an author, having a podcast, has helped you in your business every day in order for you to be more successful?
Meeting people. First of all,
Hmm.
meeting people has been a very big part of what I do. I've been podcasting almost 2 years, and I've met some of the most wonderful people. It's helped my business grow because it's given me more awareness and courage to even step out to make new friends and get their stories out there. So
Hmm.
it's become part of my journey to be courageous
Hmm.
and get on the camera. I didn't even think about it. I just did it. We
Hmm.
overthink. We
Yeah.
overthink.
I totally agree with that. And, part of your title is confidence. So there are many people who they love their business, they can work on it, more hours than we can even imagine. But when it comes to shining the light or going on camera, that's where it's like, oh my gosh, no, I just want to be in the background. So, what advice would you give business owners around, just push and record or just showing up on a podcast for an interview around really being able to take their business to the next level?
Well, get out, record yourself first of all. Just record
Hmm.
yourself and talk to your phone. You may not like your
Hmm.
voice, you may not like the way you look. And believe me, I've dealt with all of that. And I've interviewed professional podcasters a lot. And I
Hmm.
even professional authors and such. And I've been told that I was really good at what I do with this,
Hmm.
and and I had to let go. I'm a Southern girl. I'm gonna say some stupid stuff. I'm gonna make mistakes, and I have. Things happen, but I think practicing in front of the camera, which I didn't do a lot of, I just started being guest on everybody's podcast,
Hmm.
and people say, "Are you nervous?" Like, not really. I just don't think about it. I talk to people. I've talked to people my whole life, so just turn the camera on and talk. And if it starts with just interviewing yourself,
Yeah.
just practice, and it does help to get your visibility out there, to get your name out there, to help people see who you are, and practice telling your story or whatever
Hmm.
you want to share by yourself on your camera, and then listen to it and say, okay, I said a lot. Well, we all say duh and that's, you're just going to have to deal with it. And it's part of conversation. And I did learn some stuff from Toastmasters, but believe me, we're going to all say things that you say too much or uh-huh, and well, okay. Okay, so I did. Well, you're human. Have fun with it. That's my
Yes.
that's my thing. Just have fun with it.
I agree. You really don't recognize how many things you say until you record yourself, and that takes it up a notch. And one of the things I used to do would be tape a family member or a friend above my phone or computer, so it would be like I was talking to them. And I think also really being passionate about your message is so important, because you'll realize it's not about you. There is some people that need to hear your story or whatever it is that you're sharing. And I love that you shared about getting on other people's podcasts, because you don't have to do it alone. A lot of
Mm-mm.
times we just think, oh, I got to get on camera. Let me just say something. But just get on a podcast, start with
Mhm.
a partner, and that makes it a lot easier. So when you think about courage, because I think we have so much fear in the world today, wars and nature, with fires and,
Oh,
storms. I mean, there's just like something coming at us at every moment.
yes.
What insight would you share for everyone around courage in the midst of all this craziness that's going on?
Well, I have not watched the news in years. I might say decades. I don't pay attention to it.
Right.
And some I've been criticized and said, "Well, that's irresponsible." Well, I can't do anything about most of it, and
Hmm.
I've got, I've jokingly said I just got to keep up with my own life, not everybody else's. I would say focus on you. Take your
Hmm.
focus off of what's going on around you. And if it's directly affecting you, deal with what you can. But don't sit and stare at and wonder about and worry about what's going on in another country and all that. It's better to be, I think sometimes ignorance is bliss, honestly,
Mm-hmm.
because I'll have people tell me stuff and I'll go, man, I think the world could blow up and I'd just be sitting here I wouldn't even know it. Uh, you know, but I think we get into worry too much about what's going on around us and other people's lives. And if we just focus on our life and what we want, not being selfish, but being more aware of ourselves,
Mm-hmm.
because a lot around you can change when you are aware of how you're thinking and what you're doing. So it's more productive to just focus on you. You know, in business, if you don't focus on your business, it's just what's it going to do?
Right. I love that. And I have the same philosophy around not watching the news. I believe it's been about 10 years now. You do
Mm-hmm.
hear things from different people, but that whole bliss and positivity, I know that it's because I don't watch the news.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
have every gut to understand that. And I feel like I ask questions now. When I used to take in the news, it was the gospel, everything they said. Whereas now, if someone even comes to me, now, how do you know that? What research is, I mean, I ask totally different questions before I
Mm-hmm.
even consume and get, into all these emotions that I believe I used to get into regarding the news. And, it's not popular sometimes,
Mm-hmm.
when you have that. But I feel like I love being in a good space, waking up in a good space, and having this predisposition for positivity. I really attribute that to not watching the news. So definitely resonate with that. And I also like the point you mentioned about you can't do anything about it. I've learned to recognize the things that I can control and those that I can't.
Right.
And if you know you can't control it, then it's up to us to kind of limit our exposure to that because it's going to get you just going off the rocker,
Mm-hmm.
quickly if you're not careful.
Yeah, I know.
So appreciate that. Yes. Now, so what is it that you believe holds a lot of people back from really being able to use their gifts and really just own who they are, whether it's their story, their gifts. A lot of people struggle with this, and sometimes they feel like age is a factor, where they're located is a factor. All these different things kind of hinder people from really being able to get out there and try new things or just expose themselves to different cultures or whatever. What do you feel is a catalyst for that?
Fear. I think fear. A lot of us have been raised in places where we don't think we're good enough. We didn't make the
Mhm,
team. We don't speak well enough. We can't sing good enough. We can't do this. We can't. And a lot of that fear comes down to comparison, comparing
mhm,
yourself to others. And I've had to learn the lesson of I'm not anybody but me. And so embracing who you are, this is me, flaws and all. I may not like
mhm.
certain things that about myself. Well, I get over it now. I'm like, okay, I like me, and if you don't, that's okay. It's okay to not like me. I'm not attached to how you feel. So
I
I
love that.
I think getting over ourselves and saying if we learn to really love who we are, then we can go much further in life. But that
Mhm.
fear of not being good enough, not being like so and so, honestly, the media has just really ruined a lot of our culture, because you throw these beautiful actresses and actors on there and they're so and so and I want to look like that, I want to be like that. Well, you're not going to be because you're not them. And that has led
Mhm.
to a lot of problems like with plastic surgeries and things that people do to that eventually harm them because they can't accept who they are. If you need to change something, then do your best, but accept who you are right now, right here,
Mhm.
and be who you are. You can't be anybody else. And if we
Mhm.
don't get that message in our heads, believe me, it will destroy you eventually. It's very destructive thinking.
I really agree with that. And one of the things that is coming up while we're answering that is how do you um, kind of distinguish between comparison and mentorship or coaching. So, for example, you find somebody who really inspires you to do something different. How do you navigate through that with them coaching you and not feeling like you have to be that person or do it the way they do it?
Yeah, that's a really good question because being a coach, and I've been coached, I'm coached. I'm not that person. I'm not them. And I have to
Hmm.
be able to embrace what I need to do my way. I've been
Hmm.
through abuse. I've been through a lot of stuff that and I was performance based until recently. I grew up pretending and
Hmm.
performing, and that comes back to being yourself. So, um, the coaching and mentoring is important, but I'm not my coach. And you're not,
Hmm.
don't, I want to help people. I do. I do help people. But I was like, I'm not, you're not me. And don't, you got to do
Hmm.
this your way. I like to say, make sure it feels right in your gut, make sure it's in alignment. If you want to get a coach, find somebody you resonate with. Don't try to be like them. They're
Hmm.
there to guide you. Kind of like the person that might be taking you on a path through a mountain. But
Yeah.
you're following. You're not becoming. You're being more, becoming yourself more. But you're
Right.
following that person. You're not being that person. You're just following. So,
Yeah. I love that because, a lot of people struggle with that. It's like you see the highlight reels on social media and you're like, I just want to go the next level. I'm going to get this coach. And, before you know it, your logo looks like theirs, just a different color, or, you're saying their language. And I think that's an important thing to uh, point out because we don't have to change who we are, in order for us to be successful. We just need to learn some strategies or create some systems. And so many people miss out on fully expressing themselves or being in their gifts or talents because they feel like they're in the shadow of somebody else. So really appreciate what you shared about that. So my next question, you said you were working on your memoir. So what insight would you give those who are in this space of wanting to write a memoir? I've heard that there's just a lot to take in that journey when it comes to a memoir. So any tips or insight around that?
oh boy, well, my writers group has kicked my butt, and so I've started writing a little bit more about parts of my journey that are painful.
Mm-hmm.
Not everything's public, not everything's published, and it won't be for
Okay.
some time. But
Mm-hmm.
take it as you can. And I started journaling over 30 years ago. I've got
Mm-hmm.
about 35 journals sitting here. I've got stacks of books that I've written, journals that I've written in, and so I think that's a really good start. If you want to write your memoirs, start writing in a journal first
Mm-hmm.
and decide how you want to do it and let it be true to your voice.
Mm-hmm.
That's I started trying to do really long chapters and things like that, and my group said, "Look, you're a really great short chapter writer. So do it your way." And so I had to be coached, if you will, by my writers group. They're saying, when you do shorter blogs, they speak more powerfully. So that's
Mm-hmm.
my style. And
Mm-hmm.
I stick to it. I love music and movies, and I make references to that a lot in my writing. It's do what inspires you. Memoirs are hard. I'll tell you, I haven't gotten very far. I've got like 3 chapters, maybe a little bit more. It's hard, but a good for another good friend of mine, he said, Don't try to decide the chapters. Sit down and write. Just
Mhm.
write. Just write.
Mhm.
So that would be my advice. Just sit down and write, start in a journal. If you want to put it on your computer, if you want to keep it private or whatever. But don't be, don't hang your dirty laundry out.
Yeah.
Just, yeah, it's, you got to have some class about it, I'd say. Um,
Mhm.
you can tell the story and have some class.
Yeah, I love that. And, I'm hearing that it's a marathon and not a sprint.
Oh,
So many people, they look at, when the memoirs are published, and, we really don't have a lot of insight about that journey, unless we take time to ask or have that curiosity. But it's so funny how when you arrive to something, whether the book is published or you get an award or whatever, everybody just sees that moment and they create a different story, from that point on. I tell people all the time, we don't know what's going on in people's household.
right.
You drive up to next to somebody in a nice car, and you're already imagining what house they live in, where they're what they vacation like, and don't have any insight at all. So I love that you shared that, because many people think it's just like a overnight situation.
Oh, 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 that's a joke. I think I started mine over a year ago and I haven't gotten very far because I just haven't. And now that I'm like, okay, I'm just going to sit down and write and then we'll sort out the rest of it later because it's about getting it on paper or computer, wherever you want to put it. But
Hmm.
it don't it's not a it is not a sprint. Okay, this is the perspective. Your life was not a sprint, so what
Right.
makes you think you can write it overnight? Now, AI cannot write your story. Sorry, guys. AI is wonderful, but it does not have your emotions in it. It doesn't have it didn't feel the feelings that you did when you went through what you went through. And AI is wonderful for some things, but don't think you can. If somebody tells you can sit down and write a book overnight, there's a phrase for that. So,
I
um,
love it. I love it. And I believe it's true, and you get out of things what you put into it, right? Your choices begin to show based on some of these outcomes. So appreciate that. So my last question is, what final thoughts would you have? We are actually at the end of our time. I tell you, 30 minutes just seems like you blink your eyes and it's over.
yeah.
But what final thoughts would you like to share with the audience today around finding your voice? What does that look like? What are some things that maybe you had to change in order for that to be something that was a reality for you today?
Well, I tell people to start with baby steps and do one thing. If it's buying a notebook and getting a pen and sitting down and going, okay, what am I thinking about today? And setting, if you want to set a goal, that's fine. I've got a friend in my writers group. She'll say, I want to write so many words or hours in a day. And I don't work that way. You've got to work the way you work. The way the podcast started, I just asked a friend of mine if he wanted to be interviewed. It was not a podcast, it was just
Mhm.
an interview. Then the next friend, I'm like, okay. And the third one was like, this is a podcast. Okay. So it's a baby step. And just do something. It's just no
Mhm.
matter how small, if you go, okay, I'm going to go on Amazon and order a journal and some pens that I like and do it and
Yeah,
then say, okay, I'm gonna sit down and write when I feel like it. I write every day, but I've done that for years, decades even. I sit down, it's my morning time, and I sit
mhm.
down and write. Okay, it may be silly stuff like this is how long I slept and this is what I ate for breakfast. Well, and once I'm dead and gone, somebody's gonna have a good laugh. I'm like, yep, that was me. It was, but do it your way, be yourself,
Yeah,
and be who you are. Take a baby step, take a leap. That leap does not need to be across a canyon. It can be just stepping out the door, opening that Amazon package with your new book in it.
love
Something
that.
simple.
Now, have you read The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron?
I've heard about it, but I have not.
Yeah, so when you said your morning time, She has this philosophy around morning pages, and it's the first 3 pages longhand that you write, and not necessarily first thing in the morning, but early before a lot of things have happened in your day. So I got started with doing that, and I've always journaled, but doing it regularly, it is so therapeutic. And I think you grow so much faster because you can reflect on what you're doing. You're taking that time to pause and get in
Mhm.
touch with knowing who you are. For years, I wasn't in touch with who I was. So, yeah, that made me think about the book, The Artist's Way. It's amazing. It's a great book and journey around being creative and the power of writing and things of that nature. So, uh,
Yes.
do you have anything coming up that you want to let us know about, or the best place for people to connect with you?
My website, I make it easy for people. It's just janicedebo.com.
Mhm.
And I have a free gift on there. It's a free ebook. It's short, and also I'll make sure that you have my mini journal. My journal, I
Mhm.
Courage, Confidence, and Connections. You can buy the full journal on my website. You can get it on Amazon, but I prefer you buy it from my website. You know how much
Mhm.
Amazon likes to take out of there. But the beauty of ordering it directly on my website is I will sign it for you and write a note personally so you'll have an author signed copy. And but I also will give a gift of a 30-day journal so you can get a taste in a
Mhm.
PDF that LaChelle can provide of
Mhm.
my journal. So just reach out by my website. If you don't know if you need coaching, we can have a free consultation. I offer those.
Mhm.
We can chat and see what you need. I do all kinds of coaching. It turns into whatever you need, not what I
Mhm.
want. Yeah, I don't have a program that says you fit in this box. Everybody's got a different size box. So
Amen. I love that. There is no one size fits all. I'd be in trouble because I'm 5 foot. Okay.
that's cute.
So I'm below average. Okay, just saying that. But thank you so much, Janice, for being here today. Really enjoyed this time with you. I do want to say I was a guest on Janice's podcast, so it should
Mhm.
be coming out soon. We'll be sure to even add that link once it's available. But just appreciate you for being here, and so glad that we connected, and looking forward to more collaborations in the future.
Well, we've got a lot to work on, but thank you so much. And thank you to everyone watching. I appreciate your taking time to hear our words of wisdom because we've got a lot of wisdom between the two of us.
Amen. Amen. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for joining us for another episode. If you want to be a guest on Solicited Advice, feel free to reach out to me, or just simply share that in the comments and I will connect with you. But want to wish everyone an amazing Thursday, and we'll see you all next time. Bye for now. Bye, everybody.
Bye bye.